welcome to episode 52 of PauseCast. It's August the 24th, 2017. I am Jessica Alouette, and I use she, her pronouns.
And I'm Mark Hanna, I use he, him. Welcome.
Hey, Mark.
Hey. It's me and Gizmo today. I've got Gizmo right with me. He was purring louder before, I can't show the mic.
It's always good to have a cat companion here with us. I think Gizmo's been like an infrequent guest on the show, hasn't he?
Yeah, but he doesn't normally stay curled up on my lap while I'm recording, so this is quite a nice thing.
This is true. Normally, Gizmo's coming in like purred on mic, I think, once.
Yeah.
Is the thing that's happened.
Happens more often pre-show. When I actually move the mic to him.
Yeah, he's just like, Gizmo's all over you pre-show. So, welcome to PauseCast. This is a show about video games that we've been doing for 52 episodes, which is unbelievable to me, and like we got no end in sight on this.
That's the number
Mark.
of weeks in a year. Oh.
Yeah, we've been doing this for more than a year.
Yeah,
but we've definitely missed a handful of episodes here and there. So I've tried to cut back on that as much as I can. Try and be prepared for when you go away and whatnot. What have you been playing this week?
I'm sure this is going to be a great surprise to you, since I think every time I've played a game this last week, I was playing it with you. I've been playing a bunch of Dying Light, which has been good to get back into / continue with, since it hasn't been that long since I was playing through it with my flatmate. But it's the first time in ages I've played it with more than two people, and it's quite good with that, eh? It's really nice as well to realize how far apart from each other you can roam in the world, and just handles it perfectly well.
Oh yeah, no, we could be 100% just across the map, and everything is working exactly as you'd expect it to be. It's really, really cool for an open world game to...
Yeah, so it's really nice having three people, actually. When it was me and Ken, there was a lot of, I'll pick this lock and you back me up, and that was kind of the typical two people are doing a thing together. But there's a lot more just, rescuing going on with three, I think.
Yeah, there is. There kind of is, because we're at such a low level, and so it's so easy for us to get overwhelmed, and so there's just a lot of rescuing. I
think it's wise to do with overconfidence and not caring so much about having to be rescued, at least for me. But it's quite a different dynamic. So you go down, and like in most games, you don't die immediately. There's a time limit where someone can come and rescue you before you die fully, normally. There are some cases where you die completely. But now there's two people who can try to rescue you, and we're often a bit far apart, so it's like a race over to see who can get them up first, and you have to distract all the zombies that killed them. It's quite fun. I haven't had that so much the other times I've played, because of course you don't get it on your own. And with just two people, you kind of stick together a lot more, I find. So there's a bit less of that.
Yeah, I really like the kind of dynamic that we have going on in Dying Light. It feels very good. And it feels really good to be coming back to that game. That movement in that game still feels it feels so good. And getting stuff like the drop kick going and the slides. It is very satisfying. It's very satisfying just to move at all in that world, and to have your movements also kind of contribute to your fighting skills is
absolutely.
I don't think it's paralleled in any game that I can think of right now.
So it does a lot better than other first-person games where you can do that stuff. Like Skyrim, for example, doesn't compare at all to the smoothness of movement and all that sort of stuff. I find it reminds me of two games, both which I really like and have enjoyed playing. Mirror's Edge, of course, just for the whole first-person movement
that's
thing, right?
kind of a given. It doesn't quite have the same weight to the abilities that Dying Light has, but definitely it belongs in kind of the same camp.
Yeah, and also Mount and Blade,
right?
Which is, you can play it not first person, but you wouldn't. but that's got first-person combat, and I mean the animations in Mountain Blade are a lot less polished, and they don't feel, nearly as smooth or real. But just like I have a memory from when I first started playing the game where you're really low level and you're fighting like 11 bandits who have like sticks and rocks basically, and you have a horse, so they can't do shit. Except I saw all of the rocks they were throwing. I saw one and I watched it fly towards me, thinking, "Oh crap, that's gonna hit me," and it hit me in the head. And the cool thing in Mountain Blade is when you're knocked out, you stay in first person as you ragdoll. So I saw this rock fly, hit me in the head, and knock me off my horse. And I mean, you don't get that same ragdolling in Dying Light, but just that whole first-person combat part of it, I'm getting the kicks that I would normally get from playing Mountain Blade. I'm getting them from playing Dying Light. So it feels really good.
Yeah, it's super super good,
and it feels really brutal at times. Like we first encountered the toad, and it died so quick. The three of us were just wailing on it on the ground, and then I realized like I have a cricket bat with a million screws in it, and I think you two had equally brutal weapons, and it was like this little moment of, oh shit, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, that is a brutal game. It'll let you strap a knife to a knife.
That is very fun, though.
Oh, I love doing that so much.
It's so fun to just strap a knife to a knife.
A knife now just feels like half a knife, frankly.
I mean, that's not inaccurate. It is just half a knife. That's what it is.
I want to get to the point where we get swords, so I can see what happens when you strap a knife to a sword.
I mean, you strapped a knife to like an axe earlier.
Yeah, but that was like a little bit on the end of it.
It's extremely good, though.
It was much better when it was another knife.
You made it. You made the point that like it looked like a dinosaur, and it absolutely did. True.
It reminded me a bit of the Barroth from Monster Hunter, actually, just in sort of the shape of its crest.
I want to get into Monster Hunter again in a second, real quick.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll never say no to that.
Yeah, I know you won't. Like 150 hours
per game.
Yeah, like a lot. Just like a lot of time in all of the Monster Hunter series. But I'll get into what I've played a little bit this week as well. Obviously, Dying Light, because I've been playing it with you.
Mm-hmm.
Been over that. Mafia 3 I dropped back into, because that game, I guess like the structure of how that game works in its open world has been kind of like gnawing at me for a little bit, in terms of like, oh yeah, I want a game with this kind of structure right now. It's easy for me to get into and like digest in small chunks. I forgot how good the cinematics and voice acting are in that game. They are incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all done in this like really great documentary style. Like all the storytelling is done is like in a documentary style storytelling.
That's interesting.
Yeah, you have like interviews with older versions of the characters who are central to the main story.
Huh.
And like, so you have like this pastor who is being interviewed as part of this documentary, and he's talking about the life of your protagonist growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And he's talking about stuff that hasn't happened. You have an FBI like investigator who is central to the story, in front of like footage of him in front of a panel of like Republican and Democrat like senators being kind of tried. And as part of his trial, he's talking about events that are core to the story. It is such a weird and unexpected storytelling style. And like, I kind of forgot that it was there. And so going back to it has made me feel very good. I've really enjoyed seeing that style again.
So it's sort of a twist on the whole story as a flashback type of storytelling, is it?
Yeah, in the sense that it actually makes it into like a weird docu-series. It reminds me a little bit of something like a little bit of like the early stages of Making a Murderer.
I haven't actually seen that.
It's a very good series. I would recommend it.
I have heard that.
It reminds me a lot of those like early bits, because about the midway point or so, it starts actually going into what is effectively real time.
Right.
It's shot over the course of like a decade, and so it starts tracking events in real time for the documentary. Where
It
this
reminds
is
me
all
a little
just
bit
100% the past.
I mentioned a week or two ago that I'd played a little bit of Splinter Cell Conviction, and the way that story is told is the whole thing is a flashback. But for like the intro to each mission, it goes to someone who, in the beginning, we don't know. You've never seen this character before if you haven't played the game, being interviewed, in a dark room with a light shining at them, and you can't see who the interviewees are. Some secret agent type thing, talking
Right.
about the main character, and so it's that same sort of interview about things that haven't happened yet that they're doing, and then you slowly, you find out who this person is, what their relationship is to Sam, and stuff.
Right, yeah.
And it's all that one thing. They don't do like what it sounds like they did in Mafia 3, where they're interviewing a whole lot of different characters. But it just reminded me of that a little bit, which I thought was an interesting way to tell the story, because it gives an opportunity for some exposition that makes sense in the world.
Yeah.
And you get some insight into the character giving the exposition as well, of course. What do they notice and reflect on about this part of the story or this character?
Yeah, no, it is both of those approaches are like really interesting approaches to narrative storytelling. And I mentioned when we talked about Splinter Cell Conviction that I kind of bounced off of how Splinter Cell told it, but I wonder if maybe if I went back, I would appreciate it a bit more.
Maybe. I mean, it doesn't have, it's not. It's a few years old now, so it's not amazingly real looking with the face and mouth movements and stuff like that. So it's a bit easy to jump out of it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But they did what they did with what they had at the time. I found it was interesting. It was an interesting way as well to introduce this character in the first instance. Actually, they introduced this character in two ways. One was that, and the other way was when they're telling you about their relationship with Sam, which you find out about by playing through a mission, which is a flashback. Apparently they were both in Afghanistan, I think. And the implication is that this guy was captured and you have to go and rescue him. But then near the end you find out, oh no, you are playing as this guy and you're rescuing Sam, which is quite a cool switcheroo. It was handled quite well, I thought.
Yeah. Yeah, so Mafia 3 has been Mafia 3's been good to go back to. It's kind of been my week. There's been the usual kind of Overwatch and PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds.
Have you managed on Overwatch? You've been trying to get out of a certain section or rank or something?
Yes, I did actually get out of it. Thank
Nice.
goodness. Thanks to some friends, in addition to Ash, who had helped me out with that quite a lot.
Being able to play with people that you can play well with and rely on and talk to makes such a difference, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's been a huge amount of fun to play with them again.
Nice.
So, yeah, Overwatch. And PUBG's been a little bit more on the light side. We'll be playing that after this is all done, which will be great. That's been my week. It's been kind of light and focused.
4 games, light and focused.
Well, okay. So
I'm just comparing it to me.
I know 2 of those are multiplayer, plus one of them is Dying Light, in which we've been just playing together, and then the other is actually like, oh yeah, I'm sitting down with a narrative for once in my goddamn life.
Yeah.
Not actually for once, but
I know. I know you weren't being literal about
No, I know you know. You have the advantage of knowing me. Yeah, it's been a while since I have actually sat down with a real narrative game, and to sit down with Mafia 3 has definitely been like a huge treat for me.
Nice.
It's nice to have some alone time with a good story.
Definitely. Yeah, now that I've finally got books again to read, I've got the next 7 books, the final 7
That
books.
explains why you haven't been playing as many games.
Yeah, well, there's been that, and there's been D&D stuff where I've been working on improving the helper app that I use to run my campaign, and just planning more stuff, because the next session my players are going to have is like the big finale of the arc that we've actually been playing now for more than a year.
Right.
Far out. Which wasn't what I intended going into it. So, I wanted to be something real cool, and the session we had last time went down real well. So I've kind of also got a hard act to follow, which is like good, but also got to make the next one real good. So been planning that too.
You've been playing like same characters and stuff like that. It's not the end of your campaign, just the end.
No,
of this
it's
arc?
not the end of my campaign. It's an event that they've known it's going to be on this day,
right,
for a long time, and they've been leading up to it and getting it in the right place and finding out information and stuff. And then, end of the last session, at the end of the part of last session where time was passing for their characters, they went to bed the night before.
Right.
So it's gonna happen next session, no matter what I do, no matter what they do. So I got to make sure it's good. I mean, for all I know, they could just leave and it happens without them. I hope not, but they could. I guess.
What is going to be the approach if they decide actually fuck this and leave? You haven't thought about that, have you?
Well, I don't expect it to happen, but if they don't interfere. I know, this is the stuff that's going to happen if nothing interferes, so that'll happen and it'll have repercussions throughout the world that they'll then have to deal with elsewhere, knowing that they maybe could have stopped it.
Right.
That's the thing. I think actually you even gave me this advice like a year ago about know what's going to happen in the story if the characters don't intervene. Was that you who told me that? I got it from somewhere.
I don't think that was me as much as I'd like to take credit for that, because that's really fucking smart. But
yeah, I got it from somewhere, and it seemed like good advice. So, sort of write out what would happen without the characters, keeping in mind that you can't write too far ahead because they're going to interfere and stuff's going to happen different ways.
Maybe it was
me. A bit well. Yeah, I can't remember. It was a while ago that I got it. I think it might have been you who gave me that advice.
I think it might have been inspired by Griffin McElroy's work on The Adventure Zone. Almost certainly, because I don't know fucking anything about D&D. But, it was I think it was a thing that he had picked up over the course of his work with the story of The Adventure Zone, which has just come to its conclusion, by the way. Griffin's whole entire campaign has now ended, with 69 episodes done. Nice. But they've just finished the whole thing, and I imagine that was where I got that advice from.
I was really just to hear that they finished. Actually, I'm looking forward to seeing how that winds up, because I don't have an end game in mind for my campaign. I don't know how it's going to end, if we're going to reach a point where everyone's just like, well, I guess my characters retire now. I don't know. It's interesting to think of that, because for his campaign, I think there was always going to be an end game, because they were looking for 5 objects, and once they found all 5, what happens, kind of thing. Yeah. So that's interesting. I haven't listened to other long-term D&D podcasts that have ended or anything like that, so I don't have much to compare it to.
I know that Friends at the Table has gone through many stories. I think their longest one was 30 or 40 episodes or so. It was called Counterweight.
Are these stories with the same sets of characters or with different characters?
No, all different sets of characters for Friends at the Table.
So
I think there's a couple that are linked.
One thing that's interesting in the sets of books that I'm reading, so it's Robin Hobb's Elderlings books, which it's not just one long series, it's several series, and they don't all follow the same characters. So the one I'm reading now, the Rainwell's Chronicles, follows on kind of immediately from another series set in the same kind of area immediately before chronologically, but they follow different characters. And I'm reading the first book of the Rainwell's Chronicles now, and they've just, one of those characters that's followed there has encountered characters from the previous books. So that's another idea for like the world goes on. The characters are in it, but you can pick up different characters in the world, and your older characters become NPCs. Another way that sort of thing can end.
I think I've also heard of an approach, and I think this was actually in a video game, and I'm not entirely sure which one it was. I was talking about it with someone recently, but it was kind of like when your character died, you could pass off items that they had to the next character that you would play. Right.
Yeah, there's a few frameworks for that sort of make it a bit more structured around what happens around character death. A lot of them are...
even just retirement, like they would just have like an item.
Right. Maybe there's stuff like Adventure League, which is aimed at, people who can move between stores that are running games and play the same campaign from a book when different people are running it. Whereas I'm more of the mind where character death is something that I can choose for NPCs, but I don't want to choose it for my players. So if they fail that badly, I don't want to give them something that's just, oh, you rolled a 1, you're dead. It's going to be like, well, either we can come up with something narratively cool together, or it'll be some non-death but bad situation because you failed. I don't want to take the characters out from under them, unless it would be like so cool narratively that I know they'd appreciate it and not just be angry with me, because the whole point is everyone's enjoying it.
Right, yeah. Well, this has been the Dungeons and Dragons Corner.
Yeah, I do that a bit now, don't I?
It happens. Like, D&D is like video game adjacent enough that we can talk about it. And there are several official D&D games, things like Baldur's Gate and
I actually haven't played a single actual D&D game, like video game D&D game. Though I have found, and I'm sure I've mentioned this before, that now like every piece of media I'm consuming, if it's a game, a book, a TV show, I am looking for things that I can steal to use in D&D, and things that I can adapt to a more collaborative storytelling context. Oh, and freaking podcasts like the Adventure Zone.
So much good stuff in the Adventure Zone.
There is. Critical Role's another good one, but I find it harder to keep up with.
That's got a few... Critical Role's the one that's got like a handful of notable voice actors and stuff, right?
I think all of the players, as well as the DM, are voice actors.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's DM'd by Matthew Mercer, who's the voice of McCree in Overwatch.
Okay.
Like, I think there's a few actors who actually are in Overwatch and in a handful of things that I've played.
Mm-hmm.
No names as big as like Troy Baker or Nolan North, though. But how could you get a name that big?
I mean, if you know them and they like D&D and they want to play D&D with you, and then you can...
Yeah, true. That's true.
Could
Speaking
happen.
of Nolan North, Uncharted. Have you had the opportunity to check out the Lost Legacy by chance?
No, so I still haven't played the latest main Uncharted game, let alone had a look at the DLC / game and a half.
Yeah, it's like a real game. Like, it's a whole 8-hour Uncharted thing.
It's kind of like Uncharted 4.5 from the impression you've given me.
I think it's a bit of that. Like, it stars one of the main characters from Uncharted 4 and one of the main characters from Uncharted 2.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But it's its own kind of story. It looks really, really good, and it's about 8 hours long or so, which is very, very like appealing sounding. I could go for a shorter game. I think the original Uncharted games took me about 10, 12 hours to do.
Yeah, they're not amazingly long games. Like,
no,
they wrapped up pretty well.
Uncharted 4 is like huge though. That game is like 16 to 20.
Okay.
It's proper massive.
I remember watching my flatmate play through Uncharted months ago, and it takes place over like 1 or 2 days in game, which I hadn't really remembered.
Yeah. I think Uncharted 4 takes place over the course of like a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it is a much, much longer game.
Yeah. I imagine they move around a lot as well, because in the first game, it was kind of all in the same place.
Yeah, no, there's 100% a lot more like moving around.
Indiana Jonesy.
Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of what this series has always aspired to.
Like, definitely.
So I think Uncharted 4 is like this realization of its actual aspirations, maybe even going above and beyond what Indiana Jones aspired to. Definitely more like action focused than something like Indiana Jones. I think it blends. It's weird. I'm gonna make a weird comparison. It's like Uncharted is like this weird blend of like the Bourne series and Indiana Jones. Just a little bit of a weird blend of those two.
You reckon?
Maybe it's like the writing right at the beginning of Uncharted 2 that's making me think of this.
Uncharted 2, that was the Honor Among Thieves one, right?
Yeah, just Uncharted 2 Among Thieves, yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
And there was like the whole sequence in the beginning where they were breaking into the museum.
Yeah.
And it made me think of Bourne or maybe Bond even.
No, that felt very Indiana Jones to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Like, aren't there a few times in those movies where someone double crosses them to get the artifact?
Oh, I'm not even talking about that. I'm just talking about even like the setup and stuff like that. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I don't know. Uncharted got a lot of influences. I do think that the Bourne influence exists in like its action sequences. Those are like its kind of bigger aspirations, and then Indiana Jones has not really ever been about huge action sequences.
No, but I mean, Nathan Drake has got a much more Jones feel than Bourne, because the whole thing with Bourne, right, is he's got all these skills that he doesn't even know he's got sometimes until he uses them. They're just kind of instinctual. Whereas Indiana Jones is a bit meant to be rough around the edges, and Nathan Drake is so rough around the edges.
Maybe
he doesn't know what he's doing half the time.
Like Bond. I don't know.
Bond just gets bloody lucky all the time.
Even Bond doesn't really have like huge action. Like it's got to be Bourne that I'm thinking of for just the action sequences.
Nathan Drake does kill a lot of people.
Nathan Drake kills a lot of people. You can get there's a trophy in. I think we talked about this back when Uncharted 4 launched. We talked about the ludonarrative dissonance trophy that you could get.
Yeah. Kill more people than the island you're on can sustain.
Basically. I've been listening to the soundtrack for that occasionally, and it's been good. Nice.
Didn't those games have multiplayer? Have you ever played that?
I think Uncharted 4 has multiplayer. Maybe you know what? I think the originals also did on like
I think they introduced it with Uncharted 2 or something.
Yeah, I wouldn't have played that because I started playing the Uncharted series on the PS4, and that launched with no multiplayer.
Oh, right. Well, I suppose by then the multiplayer scene would have moved on to the later games anyway.
Yeah, exactly. But it would also be like kind of in preparation for the Uncharted 4 stuff. There's a few people that still play like The Last of Us multiplayer.
I need to go back and finish that game. I have so many games I need to go back and finish. I have so many games I need to go and start. But none of the next game I'm going to play isn't any of them.
What are you playing next?
Well, it's before our next episode comes out. The XCOM 2 DLC War of the Chosen comes out.
Right, of course. How did I not think of that for like a second?
So that's going to throw a wrench into my D&D preparation, I think.
Well, get it all done before then.
Yeah, right. But no, I'm so looking forward to that. Just all the vibes I've been getting about how you can pair soldiers up like in what's it called? Fire Emblem and stuff. It's just it's going to be so much fun. I'm going to enjoy it so much. I've been like I mentioned I think last week that I've been avoiding playing XCOM because I've been getting like kind of a craving for that sort of game. But I've been like, no, store it up, use it all at once when the DLC comes out.
It's going to be good.
It's hard. I hate waiting for games though.
Tell me about War of the Chosen. What are you excited about from it?
The biggest stuff is just what it's adding to let you. So I've talked before about how the best thing about XCOM is how it lets you just tell your own stories that happen during the game. That the game isn't telling you them; it's just giving a framework for them to happen. And so like
PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds.
Yeah, that sort of thing. But it's like I had one where going into rescue someone out of a cell, and I tried to blow a hole in the side of the cell with a grenade. Then found out, oh crap, okay, the cell's got like metal walls, you can't blow up with a grenade. I wasted a turn, and then like my best soldier got mind controlled, shot 2 of my people dead. Someone managed to go and get the person out, and then the mind controlled person regained stuff, managed to kill the other aliens that were nearby, but didn't get back to extraction in time, and I ended up rescuing them later. That sort of stuff that happens, that's really cool, and they're adding more ways to more stuff that'll help that sort of thing happen, like soldiers that deploy together will get relationships, and fighting together they can get special perks or something. I think it's going to have stuff like I think sort of postcard like screenshot sort of stuff that can happen after missions, if I remember right. There's a bunch of stuff, but I've been avoiding looking at things too much because I want it to all seem really fresh when I start playing it as well. But it's that aspect of it which I've always loved, which I'm really looking forward to. I mean, there's also the fact that I just really enjoy tactics games for what they are. But yeah, I think that's going to be really cool to play in. And who knows, maybe I'll tell a really cool story that'll make me think of a D&D thing to do.
Maybe, yeah. That'd be pretty sweet. Have you done any sci-fi stuff in your tabletop?
No, the closest we come there is one of the characters is a gun. Yeah. No, but I mean, honestly, in so many ways, sci-fi and fantasy can just be interchangeable. Your magic talking ship is a spaceship with an AI core. Your interstellar travel is portals to other planes. Your space gun is a magic wand. Like, just change the set dressing and it does the same stuff, really, a lot of the time. Monsters are aliens. Done.
I've talked a little bit about Destiny's approach to like science fantasy, because I'll just bring that up again real quick, because like it takes elements of what we consider to be, I guess, traditional fantasy, and then also combines it with science fiction aesthetics and set dressing to really, really great effect.
Yeah, and I should say, I don't mean to say that like fantasy and sci-fi are the same thing.
Oh yeah, no.
They're both great and separate things, and set dressing is a really important part of stories and whatnot. It's more that a lot of the time you can very easily interchange them mechanically if you're making a world and you're using like that sort of thing. You can transfer it across and say, no, same kind of story, but put a sci-fi dressing on the fantasy stuff. Sorry, you continue.
I mean, you can just straight up have like warlocks in Destiny. That's a thing. You can play as a warlock if you want to, and you have access to magic powers.
They actually call it magic in there.
They don't call it magic. It's all like the light, and the light takes 3 different like forms. There's arc light, which is electricity, solar light, which is fire, and void light, which is dark magic, I guess. But they have this same kind of like set dressing. They have Titans who are focused on like being a paladin kind of class, protecting people with shields, being in there, taking the brunt of the damage. on the front lines kind of characters, and you have hunters as well, who are designed for the front lines, very agile. Speaking of hunters, I mentioned Monster Hunter a little bit.
Yeah, I was wondering when you might be getting back to that.
I fully intended to get back to it. Have you seen anything from Monster Hunter World yet? Have you been following that?
So what I've kind of done is go, yes, I will get that when it comes out, and then not follow it up for the same kind of reasons as XCOM 2, where I want it to all be fresh. Because if you see a monster for the first time in-game when you've gone to hunt it and you're like, I don't know what this is, that's such a cool feeling. So although I would get really excited watching this stuff, the fact that I've kind of already decided I'm going to get it kind of gives me the freedom to feel like I can safely not follow along with that, I guess. I don't know. I mean, like, there are some games which I'm excited about and I do follow along, like Shadow of War, but I don't think there's likely to be as much in there that it'll be super different seeing in a trailer and in the game. Like, I don't feel like I need to preserve that experience in the game. Whereas there are others, like with XCOM, again, it's not about stopping surprises. That's about just making sure it seems fresh when I do it, because I've just been watching a million videos.
Right, yeah.
Which sometimes I might do that because I could see it would get me excited about it. You know, my moods change. Who knows?
Do you mind if I talk about a couple things within Monster Hunter?
Do it.
Okay.
It's all right.
I wanted to make sure. There was a video released by Polygon recently with Phil Collar and Griffin McElroy playing Monster Hunter World, which is the upcoming PS4, Xbox One, and PC game for Monster Hunter. The first time the series has been on a home console since before 3 Ultimate, eh?
What do you mean by home console?
Oh no, like a non-handheld.
Right,
3 Ultimate would have actually been the last one.
The last of those would have been Try, which was on the Wii.
3 Ultimate was on Wii U.
Well, it was on Wii U as well, but it was on Wii U as well as 3DS.
Yes.
It was a bit of a different case. There's also been Monster Hunter Frontier, which is like a Korean-only PC MMO. I don't know if that's still being updated or not, but like you can't get into it. It's really weirdly stringent to get into it. As well as just, being able to understand Korean because of the UI and stuff.
Yeah. Monster Hunter World video came out today. God, that game looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
You and I have talked a little bit about the environmental interaction stuff and how there's an ecosystem that the game kind of has, which is cool.
Honestly, the main thing that's stuck in my head, if I remember correctly, is that they've gotten rid of loading screens between zones.
Yep, that's correct.
Now you actually travel directly between zones, and that sounds super cool to me. Monster Hunter has always been really good with their set design, with their arenas, having yes, it's the tundra area, but every area within it feels distinct and recognizable, and I can say they're in this area, and you'll know where I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
And part of the way that being able to do that is by having loading screen transitions. So I'm really keen to see what it's like now. What it's like now that they've got rid of that. Following a monster through the whole area. I think it's going to be super cool.
Yeah. They've also added a bunch of quality of life things, which are from what I've seen of just that footage, they're kind of a big deal.
So
damage numbers are a thing.
No, that's horrible.
You can turn them off.
I will be turning them off.
I like the idea of being able to actually see, oh yeah, I'm actually getting good hits. Like that as a quality of life improvement and accessibility improvement for new players. That feels good.
Part of the appeal to me about Monster Hunter is that it doesn't have an enemy HP bar and damage numbers and stuff.
It still doesn't have an HP bar, but you do have damage numbers.
Damage numbers, they feel kind of antithetical to what Monster Hunter is about. I don't know. I'm being so snobby by saying that. I'm glad you can turn them off. I hope they never become unturned offable.
Yeah, like the thing I know where you're coming from too is like the thing about Monster Hunter that made it really interesting is you do have to learn to look for the signs of damage on a monster, and you're still gonna have to do that because they don't have a health bar. Like I think that it just shows me, oh yeah, I'm doing good hits because I'm hitting them in the right area. It's not as like obtuse as
There are ways to do that are still in world. Like, hey, it's a bigger blood splash. You've got a slight hit pause, that sort of thing. And they've got stuff like that. But I don't know, adding something in that is completely out of the world. Like the numbers won't pop up if you hit a monster. I want to say in real life, but that's a stupid thing to say. But I hope you know what I mean.
Yes, it is. Continue.
So I don't know. I much prefer when they come up with more cohesive ways of showing the same information rather than something like a number. I don't know. I'm glad you can turn them off. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Bear in mind,
I remember at one point
I'm also
seeing
just
that-
assuming that you can turn it off because that seems like a thing. They didn't show like the settings screen where you can turn it off.
Did they show any? They've shown people fighting monsters without damage numbers popping up.
Yes,
right?
they have though.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I remember at one point seeing they actually had a mobile game a few years ago for Monster Hunter that I think that had a health bar for the monsters. It sounded real bad to me.
Yeah,
I mean, like in most games, boss health bars are good, but that's one of the cool things about Monster Hunter is like you need the skill that will tell you when they're weak, or you watch for them limping and that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
Well,
I think that
all
those
about
details are
relying
still
on those
super
things.
cool. That's like it's still super cool to see like, oh yeah, I'm actually like doing enough damage that this monster needs to go run away and like take a nap to recoup. Like you see those like cool signs, and you see like, oh yeah, I've damaged like this part of its body, and I get the associated drop with that. But I have a visual sign that like, oh yeah, they're getting beaten up. It's kind of like communicate. It's kind of like how you communicate the status of enemy characters in Dungeons and Dragons. You have
You don't say they're on 10 hit points.
Yeah, no, they're like, oh yeah, he's looking real bloody right now.
Exactly. Now, I could see they could have done this well. If you want a way to have people able to tell how much damage they're doing, make it a skill. And then do it with something where you've got like a bar that spikes depending on the damage you do with each hit. Doesn't tell you an exact number, but it's like, oh, that was a really good hit kind of thing. And it's only when you've got that skill active, because they've got some skills that they'll give you a talisman for free that'll unlock the auto guard skill, typically.
Right.
They could have some stuff like that. That would have been a cool Monster Hunter-y way to do it, because that's like with the perception skill, I think it is, which is the one that means you can tell by looking at your map if a monster is weak enough to be captured.
There's a few other things
that's where they've
too,
done
like,
that sort of thing in the past.
There's a charm system which gives you small buffs.
Charm? Like equipment you put on? Yeah, talismans have been in the past few games.
Okay. Has it just been reworded as charms then?
Maybe I'm calling them the wrong name. Maybe they've always been called charms and I just call them talismans. I don't know. That's probably more likely, I think. But yeah, they're bits of equipment that don't have an armor thing, but they just give a bunch of skill points.
Stuff in the world is also much easier to pick up now, is another thing.
How do you mean by easier to pick up?
Like, there's less kind of menuing that you have to do to get, like, herbs and stuff like that to pick them off the ground.
So the only menu they've had,
something like
I'll stop
that.
saying previously and talk about in the most recent game, has been if your inventory's full and you need to swap something out.
Right.
Other than that, it's just go over it and press or hold a button together.
I might have to rewatch that footage. I'm pretty sure they were saying, "Oh yeah, that's significant. That it takes us less time to pick up this herb."
It
So
might
we
be
just
that
grab it and
because like Monster Hunter has some specific recognizable animations that were used to taking a certain amount of time. It might be that the gather single item animation is significantly quicker or something.
Oh yeah, you know what,
because you
that
used to
might
get
be
down
it.
on your hands and knees and forage around a bit and then get up again. So now if you just squat and pick it up.
that must be it, because I don't remember seeing that animation.
Right.
So, like,
because
I'm
Monster Hunter's
thinking-
got stuff like if you heal yourself, you then like lift your arms up and try it for a moment, even if a monster is barreling down at you and you can't dodge while that's happening.
Oh no, yeah, like it makes healing and just kind of everything that you do in that game, it has to be deliberate.
Yeah. It's good. It's got its own feel for it as well. But that might be what they were talking about. It might be that the gather animation is different.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But that's next year, unannounced exactly when, right?
So early 2018 is
early?
when they're saying. Very good. Early 2018. They're suspecting it might be like kind of a good fall game for us.
Wait.
Fall for us, spring for the rest of the world.
Wait, but that's
early.
Okay, autumn. Sorry.
Did you forget?
I was like, wait, no. When is that? And what one is that? Yeah, sorry. Okay, no, I get you.
All
this
right.
is the game that might make me get PS4.
You already you have? Oh yeah, your flatmate has.
So that's the thing. Yeah, I could play it on my flatmate's PS4, but we couldn't play together on PS4s. And it doesn't look like they're going to have cross-platform play. I don't think that's been announced. And if it hasn't been announced, assume it's not going to be there.
Sony hasn't been playing nice about cross-platform play anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So this might be the game to get me to buy my own PS4. Actually.
Yeah. So PS4, Xbox One, early 2018 is the expected launch.
And PC.
PC coming later.
Oh, is it?
Yep, they are delaying the PC version. Not sure by how much, but that's going to be delayed to make sure that they can get it right.
I thought they were making a big deal of a worldwide release, simultaneous release.
I think it's still a simultaneous release on like Xbox One and PS4.
Right.
But I don't know that the PC version is now considered kind of a part of that. It's only a few months away. Like, there's only so much that they could do, I guess.
I mean, and if I'm probably going to get it on PS4 anyway, I shouldn't be too annoyed. But hey, other people are going to get it on PC.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually. It also makes it seem even more unlikely than the already unlikely thing that they're going to have cross-platform play, because you'd presumably want everything to come out at once if you were doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well.
Speaking of games on PS4 and PC, Destiny 2 is right around the corner. I'm real excited about that.
When is that coming out again?
That's early September. Like, really early September.
Yeah, that's right, because that's like within a week of War of the Chosen, isn't it?
Yep. It's like a lot. Looking good. I will try the PC beta. I think this upcoming week is when the PC beta is available to play. Thinking I might give that a shot. It's all running on Blizzard's app, which is kind of interesting. Activision Games just got their own section in the Blizzard app. Now that like Destiny 2 is happening, which has made me think maybe Call of Duty will be migrating to it at some point.
Interesting.
It would certainly make sense because Battle.net has like there's great architecture there. One, Blizzard and Activision are the same company. Two, that's legit. And three, it means that they could actually like take their games off of Steam and not have to pay Valve a 30% cut. So for me, it's it seems like a move that's going to kind of be inevitable.
I guess, but I like Steam and I don't like using Origin, so I'm just going to be a little bit of a grump for selfish reasons. But no, I can see how there could be good reasons for it, and it's not like it costs money for someone to use Origin.
For them, anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not big into multiplayer on either platform anyway, so I don't know how that's likely to affect people who do play a lot of multiplayer and might be used to one, or do they both have like good... I suppose they must both be pretty good at it, because they've got a bunch of big multiplayer stuff that they've done already, don't they?
Activision and Blizzard?
I'm confused.
Is that who you're asking about?
Sorry, what?
Are you asking about Activision and Blizzard?
Yeah, and I think I'm getting confused in adding EA into the mix because my brain is doing some.
I think you are, because you talked about Origin a couple times.
I did, but it's Battle.net, not Origin. Well, they've renamed it like 3 times or something.
Oh yeah,
something like Battle.net.
It's like the Blizzard app and Battle.net.
I think my brain jumped rails from Blizzard to EA and decided you were talking about Origin, but you're not.
No, I'm not.
You're not.
Because the architecture that will be powering Destiny 2 also powers like World of Warcraft and Diablo and Overwatch and StarCraft 2. Like, all of those are big games, so adding stuff like Destiny 2 and Call of Duty onto the same kind of architecture all makes sense to me.
Fair enough.
Especially since, like, I would be much more happy to have Blizzard run Call of Duty's multiplayer, because that means everybody's using battle tags. I don't have to worry about, like, people's stupid Steam names when they enter matches, which
What's the battle tag?
The usernames with the few numbers after them. But they're they're more heavily like moderated than Steam names, which would, like, you could put a racial slur in your Steam name if you really wanted to.
Is Battle.net better at getting rid of those?
Yeah, because there's also just moderation on creating those names in the first place.
Okay. That's good, but the numbers after them just annoy me. Because I don't want numbers after my username.
The numbers after them are just for, like... I think ultimately they're kind of useful because they're a unique identifier.
But, like, so is the username.
Yeah. I don't know. Conceivably it's so that you could have people using their, like, first name. So you could have your Battle.net account be, like, Mark whatever, and you have a unique identifier after that.
I've always found, you know how it used to be when you made a username on a service and it already existed, so they'd be like, you should try using Jess345 instead or something.
Yeah.
And whenever that happened, I would always be like, no, why would I want that? That's horrible. I don't want numbers after my name. I will pick something that doesn't need a number after it. So I feel like they're just saying, no, after all your efforts to find something that's not taken on any platform and using that everywhere, we're going to put a number after it anyway because screw you.
Well,
it just feels a little bit like that.
It never displays as if there's a number, really. It's only for, like, adding people so that you can see, like, oh yeah, this is their unique identifier.
Oh, so it doesn't show up after the thing when someone pops into a lobby or something?
When I'm playing Overwatch, I just show up as Cockatiel Cutie.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not so bad then.
There's, like, a unique identifier afterwards, so that, like, if I were to give my username to a friend, like, I know my unique identifier. Anyway, the point about all this, we got sidetracked. Blizzard moderates their platform in terms of their usernames and stuff quite a bit better, so I would be much more happy for those kind of, like, for the internet communities that surround Call of Duty and whatnot to be forced into a much more moderated platform. I think I would appreciate that very much.
Fair enough.
Alright, I think that's going to do it for us this week. Mark, what have you been playing? What are you looking forward to playing this week? I got the front and back of the show all mixed up.
War of the Chosen, definitely. I don't know if we might do more Dying Light as well, but War of the Chosen is the one that I'm really looking forward to picking up when it comes out next Tuesday. I don't know if it might be Wednesday for us. You know, when they say it's coming out on the 29th of August, do they mean the 29th of August for everyone, or are they only thinking about America? Oh, we'll see. But that is the biggest thing I'm looking forward to playing this coming week. What about you?
Looking forward to Mafia 3. Dying Light, let's see if we can arrange something maybe after the show. We'll have a quick chat. Mm-hmm. And see if we can put something together. Dying Light, Mafia 3. Overwatch, continuing on that. I've got some friends and I are looking to play Friday night. Probably a little bit on the weekend as well. This season is coming to a close. There's like 6 days left on the current competitive season. So it is kind of the end game, and I want to make sure that I stay above the rank of 1,500 before we go into the next season.
Can't help but want to point out that there is a way you could guarantee you stay above that.
There is. I'm actually below it again right now, so I need to get back up.
There's not then.
Yeah, no, I need to get myself back up. I've told myself that if I break my season high again this season, which I'm going to aim to do, that's my goal. Mm-hmm. After that point, I log off of Overwatch until the next season starts.
Right.
At least I'd log off of competitive play. At least I'll probably still keep doing the quick play and arcade stuff because it's such a fun game, and I need to work on my skills still. That is the show. Thank you for tuning in and listening so far.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes. So, quick housekeeping and whatnot. Recently, we moved away from SoundCloud as our host. We're on Libsyn now. Our SoundCloud account has basically been shut down, so if you're looking for us on SoundCloud, we're not really there anymore. I'm going to see about maybe kind of keeping the latest episode or two up on SoundCloud, but that's going to be kind of about it. All this changes happen in the background, so don't worry about it, unless you were actively listening on SoundCloud. This show is supported by Patreon. If you would like to financially support the show at some point or another, we would love for you to do so. You can go to bit.ly/PauseCast, and that'll take you to our Patreon, where you can pledge a little bit of money, $1 a month, and support the show. We're aiming for $15 a month by the end of September. Thank you to our current patrons, Ash Yee, Noah Holmes, PD, Rezidog, and Laminated Moth for their continuing support of the show. Mark?
Yeah?
You are online. Where can people find you?
I'm online. I'm on Twitter at HonestUniverse, and I blog as well, though not about video games, at honestuniverse.com. And you?
You were saying a thing. I cut you
said,
off.
And you?
Oh, okay. All right. I am on Twitter at bird.school. I'm also on Twitter at hoisted.online. And I'm on Twitch here at getting.hoisted.online. You can find me at any of those places. You can email the show if you'd like to get a message on our inbox. That would be pausecastshow@gmail.com. We'll read your questions and try to answer them when we have them. Thank you to Leon for the use of our theme song, Honey Milk Island. It's off of Leon's self-titled EP. You can find Leon's music by going to soundcloud.com/LEYAWN. And that is it for the show this week. Thank you so much for joining us again, and we will see you next week.
Bye.